Shalom, shalom, Brother Zay. First, I'm going to give all praise and glory to the Heavenly Father, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being the begotten Son, who people ignorantly call him Jesus Christ. Today's topic is going to be about the lake of fire and the 2/3. People think the lake of fire is like underground with some red band picking you with a pitchfork. It is not that. People think it's like you burning in forever and ever. You want to go up to the spirit world. You're gonna go to a white God, white Jesus, get judged by him, and you wicked. He put a lever, and you get tossed into a lake of fire forever and ever. Burning, and there's just somebody down there. That Satan, poking you with the pitchfork and everything. That's nowhere in the scriptures, and that was a fable. That was made up, a fable. They came up with that, right? But that's nowhere in the scriptures. So we're gonna go break this down, and we're gonna go into the 2/3, which are of Israel, because 1/3 is gonna get saved, and 2/3 of the Israelites are gonna get destroyed because they're so wicked, right? So we're gonna we're gonna go into all that. So this is Revelation chapter 20 verse 15, and it reads, "And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." So that book of life, it has the 1/3 it has a 1/3 name is written in the book of life, right? No 2/3 member is going to be part of in that book of life. If you keeping the commandments and everything, you endure to the end, your name, Lord willing, will be in that book of life. But if you being all hell wicked, you're gonna get destroyed. Right? So now let's go to Zechariah. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 13. All right, so let's touch on this 2/3 and 1/3. Again, the 144K is part of the 1/3, but they're the the cream of the crop. Like they're the high people, the elite. You got the rulers and governors here. The 144K is going to be the rulers and governors in the kingdom, right? And the elect, or the man that was chosen before the earth, before the foundation of the earth, was promised the world and everything before everything was established, right? But let's get Zechariah real quick. So this is Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 7, and it reads, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, says the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones." Right? So like this let me read that again. "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd." So who's that sword? There's spirits. The Lord created certain spirits to come down on a wicked people, the so-called white man, to oppress his people. Right? Let me get that real quick. Right? Spirits could come down on the wicked, chiefly the white man, to cause them to go against Yahweh Shai, right? So let's get that in Psalms chapter 17 verse 13, right? So this Psalm 17 and verse 13, and it reads, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." So the wicked is that sword that he's talking about in Zechariah, right? Who's the wicked? The so-called white man. So let's read that again. So this is Zechariah chapter 13 verse 7. "Awake, O sword, right, against my shepherd." So the wicked people, which that sword goes against the shepherd. Who's the shepherd? That's Yahweh Shai. And how can we know that? Well, let's get that real quick. Right? We got to go precept upon precept. So let's get John chapter 10 and verse 11. Let's see who's that shepherd. Just like it, bear with me. So this is the book of John chapter 10 and verse 11, and it reads, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep." And it's written in red, so that means Yahweh Shah is speaking, right? So he's that shepherd. So now let's read it. Now that we know the context and everything, so this is Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 7. "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered." So when you smite the shepherd, he's dead and everything. All the sheep that follow him are going to be scattered, kind of like how it is now. Yahweh Shah was put to death and everything, and the disciples that followed him then, they scattered, they ran away and everything, they scattered, right? So let's keep going. "And I would turn my hand upon the little ones," right? So verse 8, let's get verse 8. "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third part shall be left therein. right? So the Israel is divided up into thirds, right? Two parts, 2/3 of the people. Well, what's going to happen to the two parts? The 2/3, therein shall be cut off and die. So they're going to be cut off and die. They're going to get destroyed for being so damn wicked, right? But the third shall be left therein. The 1/3 are going to be the ones preserved, and they're going to get delivered by the chariots and everything. When all hell breaking loose, they're going to get delivered. And when Yahweh shall return, they're going to be beamed up into the chariots, and they're going to be put into the wilderness, right, and make them build up the kingdom. And the 2/3 that perish, is going to be brought back through the 1/3, right? The 1/3 is going to be doing their thing, having blah 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 blah, giving birth to the 2/3. That's why it says Israel shall not be utterly perished, shall not utterly perish. Paraphrasing, right? So the 2/3 going to get destroyed, but they're going to be reborn back into the kingdom, right? So verse 9, and I will bring the third part through the fire, the 1/3 through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined. I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name. I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. All right. So the 1/3 gonna get tried like gold. What you do with gold, you put it in the furnace and everything on some high heat. It's gonna be the high heat gonna be 90 degrees. It's not gonna be 90 degrees. It's gonna be higher than that, right? So him trying you is was long suffering, just making you discipline yourself more. You might go through a lot of stuff, but that's the Lord, chastising you to try you as gold. Like where your faith lays at, right? To make your to discipline you and everything. That's him trying you. He's trying to get all those sins off of you. Like gold. When you put it in a furnace, when you first dig it up, it's not pure gold. It has like some zinc, some other minerals, elements inside of it, right? So that you have sins and everything inside of it, right? So he's trying you to get all those sins off of you. Like you put gold in the furnace to get all those other elements out and everything, right? So now we got that. So that's why he said he want to try you as gold. So now let's go to 2 Peter real quick. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. Right? So again, we're going to the 2/3 and the lake of fire. Because 2/3 of the Israelites, the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, are going to get destroyed. Right? So this 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. And it reads, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. Man, he's going to come at a time you don't even know. And then in the which the heavens shall pass away. So let me read that again. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. So that fervent heat is that fervent heat coming from the chariots, lightning bolts, just zapping everything and everything. You feel me? Right? And the works therein, them wicked works, it's not gonna be there anymore. Esau doing this wicked stuff, he's gonna be off the face of the earth. All right? Verse 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? So everything you see right now, right? Let's be carnal. Everything you see right now is going to be, dissolved. This place is going to get destroyed, right? Verse 12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved. So what's the heavens? The heavens are, a high rulership. So this is this is Esau's heaven right here. There's different type of heavens. You got the first heaven, the second heaven, the third heaven. Right? The first heaven is the firmament. The second one is the ocean above the firmament. The third is where the Most High dwells, above the ocean, over the firmament, in the spirit world. Right? But the heaven this is talking about is the heaven of the kingdoms. The kingdom Esau right now, this is his heaven. This is his kingdom. He ruled the world, and this is our hell. Right? Let me read that again. Verse 12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Yahweh, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved. So the heavens, all the kingdoms right now that rules this world, it's going to be on fire. It's going to be dissolved, right? And the elements shall melt with fervent heat, right? So it's going to melt with fervent heat, right? So that's what it's saying. So now let's get Revelation chapter 15. Revelation chapter 15 and verse 1, right? And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up with the wrath of God, right? That's verse 2. So this going to the lake of fire, right? And also, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, still in the sea of glass, having the harps of God. So look, he's not going into the lake of fire, but that sea of glass is the firmament. How do we know that? Let's get it. Let's go to Job real quick. Job chapter 37, verse 18. Because you read Genesis, he said he divided the waters with that firmament, that glass. That's why when you look up, it looks blue. There's water above that glass, right? So let's get Job real quick. So we're just building up to the way of the lake of fire, so we can get that understanding. So this Job chapter 37. Job chapter 37, verse 18, and it reads, He that with hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as a molten looking glass? So that thing is strong as a it's that molten glass, that firmament, that clear crystal glass. Let's read it again. Revelation chapter 15, verse 2. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. It's not actually talking about glass and fire, mingled with fire. It's talking about when the elect is beamed up and everything. They're going to be put on top of that glass, seeing all the destruction going to pass and everything. You're going to have front row seats, You see all the destruction, all that fire going to come up to the firmament, because there's going to be so much destruction. That fire and smoke going to come into the firmament, right? And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, right? So over the people that got over his philosophies, the way of life, how they live, not committing fornication and things like that. The people that got over all the things that the so-called white men put out there, right? Standing on the sea of glass, having the harps of God, right? So they were standing on the sea of glass, watching all the destruction that Yahweh Shah is doing with the angels, right? They're gonna have front row seats to see the downfall of their enemies, right? So now let's get Revelation chapter 14, verse 10. So this is Revelation chapter 14, verse 10. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, right? So we're going to be tormented with fire and brimstone, right, to the 2/3 and the other nations, right? And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, whosoever receiveth the mark of his name, right? So we're going to go. Now let's go to Psalms chapter 11, verse 5, right? So here a little, there a little. All right, so this is the book of Psalms, chapter 11, 11, verse 5, and it reads, The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth, right? Or verse 6, Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, in a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. So you're going to be raining down hell. Let me read that again. You're going to be raining down fire. Raining down fire and everything. Because that, and again, before I got, the lake of fire, the reason why it's called the lake of fire, because, this is John the Revelator. He's up there, trying to do his best, to describe everything. He's on top of the glass looking at the vision he's seeing and everything. And when you're on top of that glass, you're going to look like a lake of fire. Like, think about it. When the helicopters and everything have that bird-eye view of the California forest fires and everything, you can see all the fire and everything. It's like a lake of fire and everything, right? It just looks like everything's on fire. So it's not an actual lake of fire underground with somebody, poking you with a pitchfork and everything, trying to rape you. That's a fable. That's all Christianity tells you. Right, so now let's go to Isaiah chapter 66. Because them chariots going to come back and destroy this wicked place. So this, Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. And it reads, For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and rebuke and his rebuke with flames of fire. So he's coming with fire, right? He's coming with fire. The chariots gonna shoot out some, what's it called, fervent heat. Or he's gonna dissolve you like that, right? Now let's get Job chapter 18 and verse 15. So this is Job. Job chapter 18 and verse 15, and it reads, "It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because of it none of his Salakia." So Job chapter 18 verse 15, "It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his," right? "Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation." This is what I'm going to the Esau, the wicked. Brimstone will be all over his place, all over his habitation and everything. Fire. They're coming back, destroying this place, right? Like Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? You're gonna get destroyed. That place got destroyed, and this place gonna get destroyed too, because all the sins reached up to heaven. Right? So now let's get Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. All right, let's get that real quick. This place is going to get burnt up, and people think he's going to come back on an actual horse, all nice and everything, not going to do no destruction. He's going to save everybody. Look, he's coming in a so-called UFO, and he's going to destroy this place. Everything you see right now is going to be burnt up. You will not see one stone upon another. Paraphrasing. All right, so this is bear with me. So this is Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4. 4 and verse 1. And it reads, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." Right? So it says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven." Because when he returns and everything, all that fire, it's going to feel like an oven. You're in an oven. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, right? And you can't do nothing about it, right? "And all the proud, and all that do wickedly." So the wicked people can get destroyed, right? We already know that. Shall be stubble. So what's stubble? When you burn something for a while and everything, let's say like a lot of trees or something like that, right? It's going to be like ash. It's ash. It's going to be like ash and everything. You can just blow it. It's all disappear in the air. It's going to be like ash. "And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts. Thou shalt leave them neither root nor branch," because man is described as trees, right? So, basically saying you're not going to have no legs, no arms or anything like that. It's going to burn you up, right? It's just going to burn you up. That's, simple. All right, so now let's get Revelation chapter 19 and verse 20. So there's Revelation chapter 19 and verse 20, and it reads, "And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone." Right? So they was cast alive, right? And when Christianity in hell, they say you gotta die, you gotta get judged and everything, and then you go down to hell. But it just says they're gonna be cast alive. So meaning they're going your house are going to return and everything, and going destroy this place, and that's them being cast into the lake of fire, getting destroyed with that fire that he's coming back, pursuing Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15, right? So that hell that Christianity tells you is just a scare tactic that they did back then to scare people to keep the just to be righteous and everything. It's a scare tactic, right? But it says it was cast alive. So that's one cut. All right. So now let's get second Esdras at the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha is the hidden books that was taken out of the Bible. So you can get a 1611 edition, which has the regular Bible and the Apocrypha inside of it. 1611 King James, or you can just get the Apocrypha that comes on the side in his own book. All right. So now let's get second Esdras. Lucky bear with me. So we're gonna get second Esdras chapter 13, and it reads, we're gonna start at 1, and it reads, And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night. So this Ezra said, having a dream. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, and that it moved all the ways thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with 1,000 of heaven. So what man waxed strong with 1,000 of heaven, 1,000 of angels in heaven, right? Yahweh. He's the one who's returning in this dream right here, making his second coming, right? And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. So they seen him return, right? And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue that man that came out of the sea, right? So they seen this dude come out the sea. They seen Yahushua about to make his second coming and everything, and all the wicked people, the nations and everything, trying to go against them with their military might. The jets and everything, the satellites that shoot other things, things like that. They're tanks to shoot at Yahushua and the angels, right? Verse Salakia. Which one was I skipped one. Let me read verse 4. So this second Ezra chapter 13 verse 4. And whensoever his voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth when it filleth the fire. Verse 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men, the other nations coming together, right, out of number from the four winds of the heaven, all around, to subdue the man that came out to sea. So they're all going to try to attack Yahushua and the angels. Verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain. So is it? Hold on, let me read it. A great mountain, and flew up upon it. So is that actual mountain? Did he come down with the knife? Cut down. He asked the angel to come with him to cut open a mountain. No, that mountain is Hebtah. That mountain means a big chariot, right? Because you got cloud, that means chariot. You got a whirlwind, that means chariot, and you got a mountain, that means chariot, right? You gotta discern what it's talking about and keep it in its proper context. All right, and flew upon it, and that's how we know it was a chariot, because he flew upon it. Verse 7. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So Ezra's trying to look for where he got that mountain from, because he thought he got it from the because it was so big, he thought he cut it from the ground, from the earth, and flew upon it, and he couldn't find it, right? Verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So all the nations that were gathered together to fight against him, they was afraid. But hey, they said they still had a fight, man. It's all or nothing, basically. Verse 9. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held a sword, nor any instrument of war. Verse 10. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Is it actually talking about his actual mouth? No, because the chariots have them holes at the bottom and everything. It's talking about that. Them laser beams coming out the mouth, out that chariot, right? Laser beams, lightning bolts, and everything like that, right? Fire. I mean, them chariots blast out like plasma balls and everything, right? If you go to my playlist, I have chariot sightings, and there's one. It shows the chariot blasting out fireballs, destroying this one place, right? Slakia. Tongue, and he cast out sparks and tempests, verse 11. And they were all mixed together. All the nations was mixed together. Oh, Slakia, no. And they were all mixed together. So the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and a great tempest, they were all mixed together and everything. So he had different type of weapons in that one UFO, and fell with violence upon a multitude which was prepared to fight. So he was destroying these people with with that blast of fire and everything, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived. So there was once a whole thing of people, a multitude of people, and he shooting out these flaming fireballs and everything, plasma balls, and now they all burnt up. Now there's nothing. They went to naught, right? Slakia, burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right? So when he first there was somebody, now there's nothing. It was just dust. It was turned to dust. They had flesh. They got burnt up. Now they're just dust. Right? So he's coming back with these chariots to, wreak havoc on the earth. Right? Because people are so damn wicked. Right? So now let's get to the three holy children. Right? Let's show you that hell isn't somewhere underground. Right? The three holy children in the Apocrypha still. And the three holy children is about three kids that were forced. Nebuchadnezzar. You can read this in Daniel. I believe Daniel either chapter 6 or verse 10. Chapter 6 or chapter 10. I forget. I think it's chapter 6. But there's trying to be, or I think in chapter 3 actually. There was being forced to worship this painting or something like that Nebuchadnezzar made. They was forced to bow down to it, but they didn't want to. So Nebuchadnezzar forced them to go to into a furnace, right? And they was delivered at that furnace. So this is the three holy children, chapter Salakia. Three holy children, verse 65. Salakia. O ye holy and humble men of heart, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all the forever. Right? O Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever, for he hath delivered us from hell, and saved us from the hand of death, and delivered us out of the midst of the furnace and burning flame, even out of the midst of the fire hath he delivered us. Right? So I just read that, but let's go back. This verse 66. O Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever, for he hath delivered us from hell. Right? So they wasn't in hell. They wasn't underground, getting, poked with a pitchfork and everything. It was just in that furnace. Because hell means, a state of living. Or it means like you're on fire. But people think you're actually underground, burning forever. But that hell, it was in a furnace. Right? So that's a cut. That's another cut. So, right? And the three kids, it says right here, because their name was changed. Their real names is Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael, right? But their Babylonian names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So now let's get Jude chapter 1 and verse 7. So Jude verse 7. So this is the book of Jude, verse 7. So one chapter. And it reads, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them, and like even as the Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them, in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Right? So hey, Sodom and Gomorrah, they got destroyed, man, off the face of the earth. But the example is still there. You can still take a plane there and see it's right next to the Dead Sea in the so-called Middle East, right? Everything is just desolate over there. They got destroyed, and that's what's about to happen to America, Babylon, because they're doing the same things that Sodom and Gomorrah was doing, 10 times worse though, right? So they're about to get destroyed. Now let's get Luke chapter 16. So let's get one cut on hell, on underground hell. So this Luke chapter 16. In verse 19, and it reads, there was a certain rich man. Who's that certain rich man? So this is a parable. That certain rich man is Esau, the so-called white man, right? Which was clothed in purple and fine linen. Purple represents, rich and everything, wealth and everything, and fared sumptuously every day, right? And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus. Who represents Lazarus? The children of Israel. We're the beggars. We have to go to the so-called white man for everything, right? Which was laid at his gate full of sores, because we work for the so-called white man every day, right? And desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores, verse 22. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom, right? And the rich man also died and was buried. So when Lazarus died, when the Israelites, when this world would get destroyed, they still have a kingdom for them, right? We have a kingdom next. We got next according to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 9. But when the rich man dies, when the so-called white man get destroyed, they don't have a kingdom. So their kingdom is buried, right? So that's what it goes into. And well, let's keep going though. Verse 23. And in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. So how can hell be underground, right? And you see Abraham. How is Abraham in hell? Isn't Abraham a righteous dude? He was called the friend of the Lord. So why would he be in hell? Let's keep going though. All right. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. Right? Verse 25. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Right? So how can Abraham and the rich man have a conversation in hell? You feel me? Abraham would not be in hell because he's a righteous dude. But let's keep going though. 26. And beside all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that will come from thence. Meaning you can't do anything about it. You know, this is because this hell right here represents, you know, him being in a lower state, right? Being in captivity now, because the table has flipped, right? Lazarus was being the beggar. He was being the beggar and everything, but now Lazarus, now he's the rich man. But the rich man in this story, you know, the tables has changed, has flipped and everything. Now, the rich man's the beggar, right? But this right here, because that's what a lot of Christians and everything say, like the rich man was in hell, burning up, right? That flaming and everything means he's been, you know, he's just in a lower state, right? It's parabolic. It speaks in, you know, similitudes and everything like that. You can't take it literal. Right? And Abraham, he cannot be in hell because he was a righteous dude. So now let's get Matthew chapter 5 and verse 22. Right? This is Matthew chapter 5. How much time? Okay. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 22. And it reads, But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. So that hell fire is not underground. That hell fire just, you know, getting burnt up. You know, again, according to Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15, you know, Jude chapter 1 verse 7, and things of that nature. Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. It's him coming back, you know, the second return of Yahushua and everything, and burn this place up. It's not an actual underground, right? Again, like people come into this thing still with like Christianity mindset. Now you can't mix, you know, old wine and new wine. I mean, you can't mix old doctrine and new doctrine, right? You got to forsake that one and be born again. According to Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 9, right? So, let's go back to Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 23. All right. So this is Isaiah chapter 26. Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 23. And it reads, And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and that shall all be abhorring unto all flesh, right? So when he destroyed this place, the fire is not going to always be burning forever, right? Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. It was burnt up, and the fire, you know, went away. Again, there's just an exaggeration, right? Because if it was burning forever, how would you see the carcasses and everything, right? Because all the fire would be in the way. Again, it's exaggerating, right? So the fire's not going to be, you know, burning forever and ever, you know? Now let's get, what's called Job chapter 3 and verse 17. So this Job chapter 3 and verse 17. And it reads, there the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. So what's there? What place is there? There is up in heaven, right? So let's keep going. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of their oppressor, right? So what's there? In the heaven, because your spirit returns to the Most High, right? In verse 20, wherefore is light given to him that is in Slakia. I think that's it on that. Yeah, that's it on that. But yeah, there your spirit returns to heaven, and there is reincarnation in the Bible. So how can hell exist? Reincarnation is a deep, subject. For time's sake, we can't go into it. But again, there is reincarnation in the Bible, and I have that video in my on my channel and everything. But how can you go to hell when there's reincarnation in the Bible? Right. So that's another cut. So when you die, your soul, your spirit, goes straight to the Most High to get judged. Were you righteous? Were you wicked? Right. If you was a righteous, He's gonna put you back on the earth. And the next generation you come back in, and you're gonna live out your judgment. Right. If you was wicked, you're gonna get destroyed in a bad, car accident or something like that. You may give you a deformed, face and stuff like that if you was wicked. So you see people, with no arm, born like that and everything. Hey, in their past life, it was probably wicked, So things of that nature. But yeah, regeneration is in the Bible. So that's another cut on, hell underground forever and ever. All right. And the prophets, they're back on the earth too. The prophets are back on earth. Like you got King David, you got Jeremiah, Peter, Paul the Apostle. They're back on the earth right now doing the same thing they was doing back in their life, right? So now let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 9, and verse 17. And it reads, the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. Right? So again, this is another cut. The wicked shall be turned to hell. How can you be turned into hell? I thought hell was a place. So how can you be turned to a place? When it says hell, it's a lower state. It can be a lower state where you burnt with fire and things like that. But Christianity, they make it a so-called a red man poking you with a fork, trying to rape you and everything, and fire, right? But right here it's speaking about the wicked shall be turned into hell, meaning a lower state, and all the nations that forget God, right? To a lower state, and get burnt up. To all the nations that forget God, like Sodom and Gomorrah. They was burnt up because they forgot about God. And that's what's going to happen again. The same spirits are back on the earth that was back then in Sodom and Gomorrah. The same nasty, filthy spirits. All right? Let's get two more. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 14. Right. So this is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 14. And it reads, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Right, so this is the second death. How can death and hell be cast into the lake of fire? Right? The first death was the flood. The second death is when He returns and get all the wicked people out the way and destroy them. Right? This is the second death and everything. Okay. So now let's get one more. Let's get Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8. So that's another cut. So Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8 reads, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Right? How can a place follow somebody? Right? You're going to find out there's no such thing as hell underground. A red dude picking you, poking you with a pitchfork. So, Brother Zay, Lord willing, it was edifying. Shalom.